Hi, my name is Tony and today we're gonna build this bag together. I see a lot of men using this to carry tools. I see a lot of photographers using this as a camera bag. And I see everyone who commutes daily and needs to carry their lunch or a laptop, books, whatever. This is a large bag and it will make a lot of people happy. Once you use this every day, you will know what I mean. This bag is tough. I used 6 ounces Latigo, but I strongly recommend vegetable tan for this build. Maybe oil tan or some nice pull up, but it's supposed to be a tough bag, so use some tough leather. Anyway, enough talk. Let's start making this thing. But maybe you don't know me. Maybe this is your first time. You have the honor of looking at this manly face and you don't know how things work around here. Well, spoiler alert, everything will be easy, and in the next couple of minutes I will show you how to print the pattern, punch the stitching holes and cut your leather so we can start already. Before you start your project, consider very carefully what leather you will be using. Once you've decided on the leather you're gonna be using, go ahead and open your pattern files using Adobe Reader. Free to use, free to download, and make sure actual size is checked. The first page of any pattern will contain a sizing diagram. This will help you make sure the proportions are okay and you have measurements in both centimeters and inches. Alright? Some of the pattern pieces are too large for one single page, so they will be spread over 2, 3, 4, 5, even 6 pages for the larger items. Go ahead and cut the paper along the dotted line that has the scissors symbol. Find the matching side and join them together. Make sure the scissors match and you see both halves. This is very important. Now you can go ahead and cut all the patterns out of the leather. At this stage you don't really have to cut precisely on the black line. You can leave a little bit off. Some of the pattern pieces will have some very important markings on them. These will help you on a later stage of our build. After you have all the pieces cut out of the paper, you can go ahead and attach them to the leather you're going to be using. For this, I recommend you use regular masking tape you can find at any hardware store. Now it's time to punch every single stitching hole. Be patient, do not rush at this stage because it will determine how straight your stitching will be later. I use 1.5 round millimeter hole puncher. A link to this particular tool and other recommended tools I use on a daily basis in the video description. You're a chisel prong guy, you don't like single punches, that's fine. The pattern will work with these type of tools as well. Just make sure the spacing on your tool is at 6 millimeters. Once you finish punching all 20 holes, okay, maybe it's more than 20, maybe it's 30, I don't know, I never count. I never count. You can go ahead and cut the leather. Once more, take your time. Be very, very careful when you're cutting the leather because any slip, any wrong cut can ruin your whole piece. Now repeat the same process to punch and cut out every other piece needed for your design. Let's start putting this back together, and we begin with the sides. There are 5 pieces of leather making up each side: a 32 centimeter zipper and a 22 D-ring. Unfortunately, I don't have a perfectly sized zipper handy, and most likely you won't have one either. But this will only give me the opportunity to show you how easy it is to resize a zipper and make it fit any pattern. First, eyeball how long the zipper has to be, but make sure you don't cut it too short. Trim it in this case to about 32 centimeters and melt the ends off so they don't come off. Next, we need to glue the zipper to the leather, and here I am using a regular syringe to apply the glue without making a mess. Cool trick, right? Well, if you want to see other leather hacks, check out my channel for the tips and tricks video. I will make your life easier when leather crafting. Next, center the zipper carefully on the leather, place a few books on top of it, and let it dry. After it does, you should be looking at something like this. We now need to stitch it in place. The glue won't hold, so start by making the stitching line and then punch the holes. These will be marked on the pattern, by the way. I just forgot to make mine. Go ahead and stitch the zipper to the leather now, but do not pull the thread too tight, as it will cause the zipper to form small waves. I find this activity very soothing, but if you have a stitching machine, go ahead and make your life easier and attach the zipper with it. I generally don't use any heavy machinery in my leatherworking process, and I try to encourage others not to either. After you have the zipper firmly attached in place, you can make a loop with this piece of leather and close it with a cross stitch. As always with this stitch, make sure you pull the thread real tight and keep constant pressure on the stitch. I forgot to mention, I use 1mm waxed thread for my build and of course 1.5mm stitching holes. After you are done, you can now attach the outside of the pocket, but please start your stitching from the designated hole I marked on the pattern for you. Otherwise, your pockets will be slightly askew. Not a huge problem, but if you enjoy symmetry as much as Wes Henderson does, you might pay attention to this detail. You need to pull the threads extra tight around the corners for a good looking stitch, and when you're done, if you used veg bolt-on leather, wet the inside of the pocket with a sponge and shape the leather to give it a nice consistent form. Once it dries, it will keep this shape, which is what you want. Let's move on to the sides of the bag and start by attaching the D-ring holder. It will fit a 20mm ring, but if you want to use a wider one, simply increase the width of this piece. We start stitching from here, complete the square, and then follow the edges like this. Well, here is the finished piece. Before we go ahead and attach the pocket we made earlier, let's attach this narrow strip first. This will later connect the side to the main body. I strongly recommend using a few paper clips to hold your leather in place. Then it's simple saddle stitch from one end to the other, nothing you haven't done before already. Once more, we can shape the leather a little bit. We can now attach the pocket to the side piece, and again, I recommend starting from the designated holes marked as such on the pattern. Once you are done, have a coffee break and then do the other one exactly the same way. Yes, you need 2 of these. Who knew, right? Next, let's start working on the main body. This part of the bag will require the largest piece of leather, and it consists of the main flap, which gets attached to one of the ends, and of this large piece, and the second flap that doubles as a pocket. So go ahead and attach these 2 pieces before we move on. The top flap forms a back pocket large enough to hold a small laptop or a large tablet. Also, you need to attach the bottom piece. Now, this has the purpose of reinforcing the lower part of the bag, so I recommend you do not leave this out or your bag might get saggy over years of use. Okay, now we can put all 3 main pieces of this bag together and stitch the sides along this line here. Once again, paper clips will be of great help to keep the leather in place while you stitch it in place. Once you get to the corners, the going will get a bit tough. If you have curved needles, they will be of great help. If you use long stitching needles like I do, be very careful and take your time so not to scratch the leather. This is one side done, time for another coffee break and then the other side. When you are all done, we just need to attach the straps and we're ready to go. That was easy. There are 3 closing straps and a shoulder strap. I will show you how to attach one of the closing straps and then you can do the other 2. And you know, my straps will fit 25mm buckles, so you might have to adjust the width of the straps to your own hardware. But if you like these exact buckles I use here, there will be a link in the video description to my hardware shop from where you can just, you know, get them along with the rest of the hardware. This way, you know, you'll get the good quality buckles, rivets and swivel hooks identical with these ones I use on this very bag. When you attach the buckle, remember to insert the metal keepers as well. The rivets I have are 9mm shaft and 9mm cap. So once again, you will need 3 of these. Now let's attach them to the flaps, insert a book or 2 and place a small anvil or a piece of solid metal underneath so we can hammer down the rivets. Why not do this before you stitch the piece in place? Because I want to avoid the stitching thread getting tangled into the buckles all the time. Do the same for the strap on the flap. Do the other 2 just like you did this one. There is also a holder for your maker's mark or your logo, so feel free to use it or just leave it out if you intend to decorate the flap some other way. I went one step further and printed my logo in acrylic for a more striking visual effect. And I just love the way it looks and feels. This is a large bag meant to carry heavy things, so it needs a proper shoulder strap. I used a couple of 20mm swivel hooks and a 25mm buckle to adjust the strap length as needed. Once again, you don't have to use this strap design, or you can adjust it to the size of your own hardware. Just make sure it is comfortable enough to carry around on your shoulder. Rivet the buckle to the strap. Attach the two hooks at both ends by stitching this narrow strip in place. And finally, sandwich the strap between these two identical pieces of leather that make the shoulder pad. Once you are done, you can attach it to your bag. Well, this is it. Congratulations, you made this amazing bag. Well done. Now you have to find that subscribe button, click on it, and then the bell next to it. So next time we release a video, you are the first one to know. Our next tutorial will come with a free pattern, and you don't want to miss out on that one. Nothing good is free forever. Just saying. Thank you for watching. Peace.